Day number 12, and I'm over the road again today. I'm gonna go pick up a bred hog down in Summertown, Tennessee, bring it back to the farm, and hopefully we'll have us a litter of feeder pigs later on so y'all can have some pork sausage. Come on, hang out with us. All right, hey folks, I'm here to pick up the hog now, and this is my friend Cliff Davis.
Hey.
Okay, if you don't know Cliff, Cliff is tell us about you, Cliff.
I'm a farmer in Middle Tennessee. We do vegetables, flowers, and then pork. Specialize on the pork side. We specialize in old line Durocs, old line genetics that have high quality meat. So we try to hit those niche markets wherever we can, kind of higher boutique kind of connoisseur markets, like almost like a Wagyu. Okay,
if somebody wanted to buy your products, where would they go to?
Pig and Leaf, pigandleaf.com, at Pig and Leaf, pigandleaf.com, or all over Instagram. I also have I keep kind of my journey into old line hogs on Instagram too, at Vintage Duroc and at Vintage Yorkshire. That's soon to become at Vintage Swine, but I haven't gotten there yet because we're also next week getting some more vintage old lines of Berkshires. I'll keep people informed on that. But
well, you say we're also getting, so what do you have right now?
Right now we have a Berkshire, old line Berkshire boar, and then we have a small nucleus herd of Yorkshires, German Yorkshires, that we picked up several months ago out of Oklahoma City from a guy named Kenny Robertson, and we took over his program. And then we have the Fudge Durocs, which Henry Fudge and I work together on all the breeding and all the pig stuff. He's been breeding since he was 19. I think he's 76 now.
And they're where at?
He's in Alabama, just south of here, Madison, Alabama.
Okay.
And yeah, we're still building out our farm, but we sell pigs, we sell breeding stock, especially those Duroc boars, because they'll throw 10 to 12% marbling in your product.
And y'all, I had to stop him right here. He's being a little bit modest. The last time we came, he showed us his place, and he's got a pretty cool setup. So I think, you mean it's probably a continual build out of the farm, right?
It's always something.
Yeah.
We're always building something. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool. They've got greenhouses, they've got a germ room, they've got a in-house processing place, cleaning facility.
Yeah, all naturally built house, off-grid house, water tanks, 1.5 miles of swales, 22 ponds, fruit and nut trees everywhere. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay.
50 acres on a ridge.
Very cool. All right, got her caught. Now we're gonna transfer trailers. Whoa!
When we think of old line, we think you're line breeding and creating a dense genetic makeup in those hogs, either line breeding or inbreeding. And nobody really does that anymore, but when they say that they've been lined up since 1970 or 1940, we just don't know what that really means.
Right.
You know, whereas like our Durocs, they've been lined up. There's been no other lines in there for 28 years, you know. We'll see how the Berkshires do. That old line of Berkshires will be here next week, and I'll be posting about those, you know, on my vintage stuff. But hopefully they'll be good. They look good.
Okay.
They look really good. Okay. They got the phenotype we're looking for. These Yorkshires, they're gonna be a while to sort through. We got 3 gilts here. Well, we got a sow and 2 gilts in that boar flashback, and then we've got a boar and 2 gilts down there. and then we'll just start blending them.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's three different phenotypes. So if you look at these 5-liter gilts, they're a little chunkier, deeper, good spring of rib, pretty decent shoulders, but they're deep.
Right.
You know, they get from the top to the bottom, they're pretty deep. The other ones are more like her, longer, shorter, but more length in the body. So if you blend that length with this depth, you get a different phenotype.
Right.
Now we'd like to see a hog like that, but not 1 year old. We'd like to see it 2-3 years old, that deep. So that'd mean they were slower maturing skeleton, which we have very unorthodox breeding protocols.
That's not what most people want. They want the fast.
They want the linebacker, and we're looking for the lineman.
Right. And that's the difference in the old line breeding and the terminal breeding right there, right?
There's terminal breeding, and then people just call things terminal, which means that they're more coarse. They don't have a flat bone. They are maturing quicker. They have bigger front ends. Their bone rounds out quicker. Their head dishes faster. Their eyes go around to their forehead to the front faster. That's coarse, and what some people call terminal. Now, terminal breeding is when you take an isolated genotype that's been line bred, is the best, and then you take, so let's say that's a Duroc,
okay,
and then you take a Yorkshire that's been line bred, and you take a Berkshire that's been line bred. You cross those two, you create F1 mamas. Those F1 mamas get covered by the Duroc boar. That's called terminal breeding. So the F1 mother is going to have more maternal hybrid vigor. That means she's going to be healthier, she's going to have more babies, and she's going to be able to milk those babies better, depending on the breed you use and depending on how line bred they are. And then the boar, of course, is a completely different genetic makeup. So it's going to actually increase the litter size and give more hybrid vigor to the litter as well. So the litter size will be bigger, the mothers will be have more hybrid vigor, and that's called a terminal breeding system.
Okay.
It's best if it's best if it's used with breeds that have been lined up. And then you got a 4-way cross, which is the father. You take 4 different breeds, preferably all line bred, which are hard to find. And let's say you do like a Duroc Berkshire and a Yorkshire Hampshire, a blue butt. Take your blue butts, females, take your Duroc Berkshire cross. So that's an F1 here and an F1 here. Now what you have is maternal vigor. I mean, you have maternal vigor, right? And more babies. So you have piglet vigor, and you have more milk production, and you have paternal vigor, hybrid vigor. That's what a lot of the industry does, but you have to have 4 different line bred breeds, right? So what most of the industry does is takes a Duroc boar, like commercial settings, is usually typically a Duroc boar on a blue butt or a Duroc boar on a Yorkshire landrace cross. That's usually what the industry does. So 2 white breeds on the F1 mama and a Duroc boar.
Okay.
That's the industry right there. So we're just trying to take that industry model and use it within the old line context. So you're getting greater quality meat, you're getting a little more fat cover, which is what you're going to get with old lines. That's the way it is.
What does fat equal?
Fat, well, it means flavor.
That's right.
But a farmer's going to do what they got to do in order to make a living. Especially now, you know, you're looking at $500 a ton on feed. We're going through 2 tons a week. You know, it adds up. You get $4 grand bill every month in feed, then you gotta reduce your prices somewhere else.
Listen, I told my wife the other day, I said, if we didn't have to buy feed, you know how much money we'd have?
Oh, well, yeah.
Like,
It was a long winter.
You want a hole, here they are.
It was a really long winter. But you got to remember, though, you got a lot of money sitting in the field.
It's a savings account.
It's a piggy bank.
Yeah, piggy bank. That was pretty good, Carl.
And you get, you know, for every dollar I put in, I get 3 to 4 back.
There you go.
How are you going to do that in 6 months with an investment?
You're not going to do it with goats, I can sure tell you that.
I'm not going to do it with goats. But yeah, being a hog farmer nowadays is you got to be half nuts.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you got to really, really understand your costs. And in your cost structure, you have to put in a profit. It's just part of your cost. When you're doing your numbers, you put in profit, and then that's what you sell all your items for. You got to really, really, really be careful, or you just won't be making money, you know. And you have to be honest. You have to say, oh, well, she had 5 piglets, we'll try her again. Just get rid of her.
Yeah, you got to cull ruthlessly.
You got to cull like a son of a gun. That's why you got to bring your numbers up a little bit in order to figure out which ones are the good ones, so that then you know, then you don't have a problem culling. If you have 2 or 3 sows and you got to cull 2, you're only down to 1. So having crosses is the way to go, because most likely you're not going to have to cull them. You know,
because you get that
and you cross a pure back onto that, you're good.
Yeah.
As long as that guy's not shooting blanks, which none of ours do, then you're good to go. The thing about our boars, though, they have to, because they're so high end and their sheath is so far back, they have to be a little bit bigger than the girls. You know, that's why that boar we got you was bigger than the gilt.
Right.
It takes a long time, you know, to really get what you want. I mean, right now, at 28 years into our line of Durocs, and they're just now, I would say, becoming what we want, literally. And then that, you know, is going to take us into the next 20 years. What are we going to get? I don't know. Wow. You know, our whole trajectory on our objective on our Durocs is we're trying to recreate, we're breeding backwards. We're trying to recreate the old hogs of the early 1900s. And that's when the Durocs were exceptional across the board.
Okay. What's the difference in a pig from the early 1900s and now, for viewers that don't know?
Well, most of the pigs nowadays are polluted by modern genetics, or they're just crossed over so many times. There's nothing really, you know, there's nothing really good in there, you know.
And so what is so good about a early 20th century hog?
Well, especially the Durocs, they were, you know, 800 to 900 pounds. They're larger framed. They were slower maturing hogs, so they matured over a long period of time as opposed to a shorter period of time with modern genetics. That's the problem with modern genetics, is they just mature too quick.
Okay, and what's the benefit of the long mature?
Oh, they become more maternal. And, you know, the reason why the industry bought in Pietrin genetics, which is a Belgian breed, heavy muscled, double muscled, is because they had to meet what the packers demanded. So you got someone telling you what you got to be doing. And they're telling you also how much they're going to give you per pound. Don't get yourself in that situation. But those old line genetics, they haven't been polluted. They were line bred. They haven't been polluted by any of that Belgian stuff. They were slower maturing. They had, you know, you still had 6 to 7 inch loin eye with maybe an inch and a half of back fat. Just better genetics altogether. Especially with the Durocs. If you want to look in the history of the Durocs, there's 2 books written on it. That's how important the Durocs have been in the American hog industry. I think the number 2 most registered hog in the United States, or maybe the world, is a Duroc. A Hampshire's, I think, number 1. But Yeah, so what we do is we try to recreate all those 100-year-old hogs by just looking at their phenotypes, just seeing what they look like, you know?
Okay.
And trying to think, how do we get there?
And so right here, just a minute ago, we had 4 different phenotypes in these Yorkshires right
Yep.
here. Okay. How do you know what a 100-year-old hog looks like? How do you figure that part out?
That's the 28-year process.
Okay.
You know, that Henry's been doing that for a while, and I think we're still asking ourselves that question, but we're pretty darn close.
Yeah.
You know, with Iron Man, he's got some flaws, but our Iron Man boar is very phenotypically similar to a lot of those pictures we see from the early 1900s, 1930s. You have to understand the pig industry to understand what we're looking for. The pig industry has been through all kinds of different changes.
Right.
In the 40s and the 50s, they wanted fatter hogs. Why? Lard.
Right.
Right? It was wartime. So they wanted that fat. And then after that, you had, well, we got to thin these things out. So then you had these high and dry gut sucking, call them gut sucking. They're really high in the flank, really tall, poor rear ends, if you ask me.
I've seen them. They almost look sickly. They're just so long and
yeah. Those are like the 60s and 70s hogs.
Right.
And then the show pig industry came in the 80s and 90s, and then the Pietrin came in, and you know, that kind of changed the whole phenotype of the hog altogether. I mean,
you're home. Come on. Hop, 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 hop. Thank you for watching today, folks. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tell me what kind of content you want if you want to see something special. God bless you. Come back to the farm again with us tomorrow.